And we're live. Right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of ENTA Presents Panel Discussions by Campus Care. So, I have with me today our lovely panelist. I hope everybody who's watching us right now on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in from all over the world, and we are seeing a good amount of number. So, thank you for taking out time from your valuable schedule to listen to us. And I have some very lovely panelists with me. So first up, let me introduce our first panelist. She's the director of Aryan Public School. Please welcome Subina, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, and it's the Aryan International School,
Yes,
Varanasi.
yes, ma'am. Aryan International School. That's what I
Yeah.
mentioned. Next up, I have Lalita Naidu, ma'am. Ma'am, would you please care to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Lalita Naidu, and I'm the principal of Ambitus World School in Hyderabad.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much,
Good
ma'am.
evening, ma'am. Good evening.
And
Good
I am
evening.
Himanshu, and I'm the marketing head at Entab. And all those lovely viewers who are watching me, they already know me. So I would love to welcome you on our platform. Thank you so much to both of you for taking your time out for us. All right, ma'am. So our topic for today is community-based experiential learning. Engaging students in with real-world problems, or maybe preparing our students for a VUCA world. Now, some might say, to those who do not understand the concept of VUCA world, basically it was a term which was coined by the American Army in the before 1990s, basically when they disintegrated USSR, right? So they wanted to prepare for a warfare, for a world which was volatile, then uncertain, then complex, and last one was ambiguous world. So are our students prepared? So how experiential learning, and ma'am and I will be discussing about certain crucial pointers for on that. So my first question would be, ma'am, according to you, what is community based experiential learning and how does it differ from traditional classroom based experience? And for that, I'll first have Subina, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me on board. So, of course, it is community-based experiential learning is definitely different from the talk and chalk method
Right.
because these days there is attention span of children is very less due to technology. So we have to change our way of teaching. We have to involve the children while we teach. So the child has to listen to what we are teaching. They have to understand what we are teaching, and then they have to learn. So for this we have to have involvement, I mean involvement through involvement. So we have to involve the child through involving them into what we are teaching. So, for example, if we are teaching, uh, of course, science, everybody knows that in science you have experiments, you have toys, you have manipulatives, and you have PPTs and you have videos through teaching. But that's for science, which is easy for a science teacher to change themselves and bring in more manipulatives while teaching and more experiment based teaching. But what about the other subjects? So, how do you involve the children and bring them into a community to use their five senses to learn? So, for example, if you ask a student, what is the climate at the coastal plain? So they'll say moderate. What is the climate at uh, the Himalayas or the hill station? Oh, it's cold. But then, what is moderate? Let them feel. Let them use their five senses. So they have to feel the moderate climate. They have to express it. What kind of clothes you wear? What kind of diet you will have? And why do you have that diet? Why do you eat certain things which you eat during the moderate climate? And what you eat when you live in the Himalayas? So there is an integration of the of sciences, their integration of subjects when you are teaching and you're involving their five senses, you're
Hmm.
involving their feelings,
Hmm.
their knowledge, plus what they are trying to understand when you're teaching about different kind of climates. So that is called involvement through learning. And then when you bring them into a group activity, okay, now not only the coastal plain, suppose I have just to set an example, I've taken a topic so that you understand what is community based learning. So I've taken the topic of climate right now. So the diet and the science comes in. But when we talk about why the climate is moderate, you talk about the height, the altitude away from the equator, and the kind of clothes you wear. So now they're not only learning moderate climate, they're also learning certain aspects around it. Then you make projects, you make charts, right? So
Hmm.
that is what I believe is that community based learning, experiencing what you're learning, experiencing the five senses, you're feeling the five senses in that climate. And that is what is when we say you hear and you forget, when you see you remember, but when you do and you when you feel, you learn. So we have to base our teaching on learning, understanding, and then that is education. So education is not just getting marks by through rote method. Education is understanding what you're learning, and then retaining it for life, because what you understand you learn, and that is what is knowledge is about.
Right. Lalita ma'am, taking cue from that, I'll try. I'm going a bit off topic. I know that, but I just want to understand for myself as well how, to an extent, how much is that practically possible. I cannot take my students. Let's say if I'm an educator, then I won't be able to take my students to the Himalayas or Himalayas. To be very honest, why am I, saying Himalayas? Or to if I want them to have an experience of let's say a tribal community, I won't be taking, because there are certain risk and dangers involved, right? So till what extent is it actually, or in a, if I put it in a better para or phrase, what are the challenges, practical challenges that we can face according to you?
Yeah, good evening to all. Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, Himanshu. It's a pleasure to talk about this topic, which is very close to my heart. Uh, when it comes to experiential learning, the first and foremost is we are living in a virtual reality world.
Hmm.
We are living in a world where everything we see, the children are able to experience a lot of things virtually. But how much of it is sensorial, like ma'am said, and how much of it is possible is what we need to look at. So far as the NEP is concerned, also, there is a scope because a whole period has been allocated in the academic schedule of a child's, academic year for experiential learning to happen. And when we look at experiential learning, every experiential learning that the child has should be multi or transdisciplinary,
Hmm.
which means it is not restricted to one subject as such. So, at different levels, right from the preschool to, right through up to grade 12, we can bring in experiential learnings in different ways. Okay, so when it comes to different things like let us say the farm life,
Hmm.
everything that the child can experience in the farm life,
Hmm.
or the governmental systems, like how does a panchayat work? It you can easily take the children and make them experience it. Right to the extent, even my granddaughter, who is 4 years old now, actually hasn't seen a cow in reality so far. Okay. So, which means that, she needs, that experience of where her milk is coming, where her protein is coming from. So that, to that extent, even if we ask the child, where does the rice come from? Where does the dal come from? They're quite clueless. Unless and until we create, and we all know we live in communities, we live in societies, we live in countries where the children do not have access to these things, and unless there is scope given for them in the curriculum, and unless that is built into the school
System.
academic schedule,
Yeah.
where they, for certain topics, they do go to the community, they learn from actual people on the field, they learn from actual experiences which they get,
Field
they
trips.
feel, yeah, exactly. They feel, they touch, they experience the whole thing. Okay, so it can be various things, right from, as I said, farm life to, community helpers to, the even learning from businesses, learning from, so at different levels, different things, that they can experience. So this is something that, and more and more, people in the community are also very friendly. They come forward
Mm.
and they take up a lot of things, which will help a child to experience it in total. So I think, this is a wonderful thing which has come in NEP, and the sooner it is implemented, the better it is.
Right. Moving over to Subida, ma'am. Ma'am, you know, if not, we all understand, and everybody I'm sure who's watching us also understand that there are also some security issues and some risks involved. So the next best alternative for experiential learning would be naturally what is prevalent right now is digital content, because that can somewhat not, it's not exactly giving you that feel, but it can suffice somewhat of theme. So according to you, how much role does a digital content play when it comes to fulfilling experiences or making them aware of a certain concept, so that it at least invokes critical or analytical thinking in students?
See, the videos that are available on YouTube's the 3D videos or the normal 2D uh, are very, very useful, I must say, but that only lies in the teacher's hand. I mean, we don't really encourage students to research through the videos, but we have in our lesson plans. We have a lesson plans, and we decide which video we have to show, and we have to show them a video to get their concepts absolutely clear. We prepare our own PPTs for different topics, and then we show them videos, right? So digital content is left in the hands of the children only when they have to do research work, which we do give them a project. We of course we have to give them a project because we have to invoke their curiosity level. So we have to leave a question in their mind which will get them curious to learn about it. So when we are giving them topic and we are dividing them into a group, it's not only individual, and we make it sure that it's not an individual, it is a group. So when it
Yeah,
is a group,
collective
it
effort.
becomes competitive, and then they become more focused. Once they become competitive, they become focused, and we this will ensure that they're searching only those topics and not looking at any other things. Because when you award them, like you divide the class into groups and you say whoever's presentation is good, we award them for. So when that brings them focus, brings focus into them, that raises the curiosity level, and also that prevents them to go haywire, I mean to go beyond what is asked for. So I must say technology has played a very important role, but everything has pros and cons. But we as teachers have to make sure in which direction we are leading our children into.
Right.
And so that's how we have competitions, we give awards and we break them into groups.
Right.
So this is how you channelize their energy.
Right.
So definitely it helps them in understanding and building their curiosity level and the research, because all these days now Cambridge Ivy boards are coming, which is definitely a project based, which is good, of course, and I advocate it. But then we have a ways to propel them into the right direction.
Right. Very true, ma'am. And I'm a strong believer of community service. So I guess that is one of the mechanisms which can we can positively imbibe in our
Yes.
curriculum, or just a weekly there's an NGO. Please do not excuse the pun. It's in Mumbai, and it's called Beach Please. And what these people, they are kids, right? And they have taken an initiative, and they have taken it upon themselves to go and clean the beaches of Mumbai.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so far they have removed 28,000 tons of waste.
I marvel it. I marvel their spirit.
Yes.
So
So
if
this is
that's not,
sustainability, you know.
yeah, if that's not
You know,
experiential
sustainability
learning,
has become a course in the university,
right?
which is so important, and we have to instill this in the young children when they are with us. So we have a lot of onus on us.
Right. I truly believe that, ma'am. All right, moving forward from there, Lalita, ma'am, one of the biggest important factor when we talk about experiential learning or any sort of learning, it is okay, fine. You gave them a curriculum, you gave them the topics, but again, they have to go back home. So, how can we involve parents or guardians to take up community based experiential learning? Because, and why am I saying this is an important question? I have a personal experience. I've seen parents nowadays, they won't let the child go downstairs to play because of security issues or because of certain threats or because of the VUCA world, I can say. So, ma'am, please shed some light on that.
Yes. See, any communication or any kind of intervention, whether it is from the parent side or from the school side, it has to be where, keeping the child in mind. You are very right in saying that there are parents afraid to take the children, even send the children on their own down
Mm,
because of, like you said, security reasons and others. But other than that, see, there are so many things that a parent can do to take the child to the community. An outing can be, instead of the just a movie where you're showing them something, it can be to places which are interesting for the child, where the child's learning is there. Point one. Point two is, when it comes to school also, we need to create instances and, what I should say, opportunities
mm,
where children are, made to go to these various places. And when, any community based intervention is a two-way intervention. Community taking the child to the community, bringing the community to the school.
mm.
Both ways are
Right.
essential for the children.
Children. Yeah.
So when it comes to, how can parents involve? Well, basically, what I have seen, the new generation parents have a lot of, they do a lot for kids. So much so, they're just having one child or two children, and their whole, it's like their entire focus is on those kids. So they want nothing but the best for the kids. And they are actually parents, if you look from the point of view, they're a little gullible. They believe if there is a Baiju's telling you are going to give this, they feel that's the best. And if there is something else, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be using a name, but any other thing, they feel that yes, that's the best. So it is for schools to educate parents and allow them, to explore a bit and come out with, what is best for the child.
Right.
Okay, and then everybody these days, parents, although they have the best of intentions and they have the resources for the for their children, They also have lack of time for them. So that is again another factor when it comes to, the community-based learning, because any community-based learning requires little more time and little more effort and little more, what I should say, time wisely spent with the children.
Involvement.
Involvement, right?
Right. Ma'am has clearly
Can I add a
mentioned.
little? Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
add few things?
Absolutely, ma'am.
So what I firmly believe that we've always said that a family who eats together stays
See,
together.
exactly.
So I see that when we work together, when a parent is involved with making a project with a child or taking him to an educative or learning center and learning with him, exploring things with him, these memories stay for the lifetime for the child.
Yes.
So there's quality time which they spend when they're learning together, exploring together, making projects together, doing creative things. So it stays and that bond is developed. If a parent complains, half the time we have to do for the child. I say, don't you realize that you're creating a bond with your child? So aren't you learning together? And that will remain in the memory of the child for the long, for the lifelong. So that's bond which is very important other than learning. I mean, of course they're learning is happening with them together, but they don't understand the bond also that is created. So I really believe that it's not only that family who eats together stays together, it's family who learns together, who does
Yes.
things together. That's that emotional bond is created for life.
Right.
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfectly, very well put, ma'am. And honestly, when ma'am spoke about parenting, now parents are very, and I smirked on that because I always say that when it came to my parents, our generation of my parents, they were so busy, and I understand their point of view as well. They lacked parenting skills because they were striving and surviving, and now we're in a situation where we are thriving because of that, right? So now we have that luxury to read books, and due to technology as well, it has enabled us to have a wider perspective of things, right? To have what parenting is actually. So our generation can actually work on that. So that's very true, ma'am. All right. And when Lalita ma'am as well as Sumina ma'am, when both of you mentioned that to have experiences, it can be as simple as taking your child to go to a vendor and just showing him or her
Mm.
the financial management or something of that sort, the value of money, having field trips and everything. It's not that impossible, right? So I truly believe what you're saying, ma'am. All right, very quickly, I'll move on to the last question. Ma'am, so, for a school, because I know many principals and teachers are watching this webinar, and I have a specific niche audience based on principals only, and from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities as well. So, ma'am, for a school, what are the challenges of implementing community based experiential learning and how they can be overcome? Very quickly, ma'am.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, who should
Shavina,
speak?
ma'am,
Okay.
both of you. I want key tips from both of you. Three you can tell me, and three Lalita ma'am can tell me.
Okay, so I feel, see, I always tell my teachers that the only permanent thing is change. So unless we don't change and improvise our teaching, we'll never evolve. So if we don't want to remain stagnant, so we have to change, and change is what is required. So we always motivate that they're always the best teachers, but there's always a room for improvement,
All right.
and we hold workshops for them, and we motivate, encourage them, positive motivation. We give them feedbacks from the children that you took up this topic, and here a child could not understand. For example, light, if you're convex and convex, recently we had this, that convex and concave mirror, the children could not understand. So the teacher taught well. It's not that the teacher did not teach well. So but We also help the teacher what aids, what manipulatives could be used to teach, and how it can be more rewarding. And when the teacher tried that method, she felt happy, yes, that, I could have done this in this manner as told to me now. And when the children got good marks, so she also felt motivated. So I'm just giving an example how one topic we help the teacher to use a manipulative or a video to show this. So of course we tell that how I motivate is that there are three type of learners sitting in the class. One is audio learner, the visual learner, and the kinesthetic learner. And how we have to become a dramatist, like we have to dramatize what we are teaching. We have to uh, articulate very well, gesticulate very well. So we are covering all aspects, different kind of learners sitting in the classroom. So we hold workshop that how the teacher has to play many different roles, that when the teacher is trying to speak, that 20 minutes of speech should be heard, and not even 1 minute of what you're teaching. The child should not get distracted, or have deviate their attention from what you're speaking. So how you should speak for those 20 minutes to attract the attention, to keep the attention alive in all the children. So we have different ways. We have, like, it's a long process how tell you that
Ma'am,
how we tell our teachers to
I'll
keep.
tell you what. So what you can do is you can share some videos with me, and I'll share it with my viewers. And I really understand one of the most important key factors is active listening. It's not just listening, but active listening.
Active listening. Yeah,
यहाँ पे हमारे
that's
मतलब
what I'm trying to say.
हाँ एग्जैक्टली मैम हमारे साथ बहुत प्रॉब्लम है मेरी टीम में भी अब बोलना नहीं चाहिए but listening and then this active listening. So Lalita ma'am, 3 pointers from you very quickly.
Yes. See, if a class is engaging, the child is involved.
Right.
If a class is, monotonous, the child will be only physically present there. Okay, so how do we create that engaging classroom? So one activity, one lecture, one method throughout the class is not going to help. So it has to have various active learning strategies. Okay, so it needs to be, unfortunately, we are a Cambridge school. So we have well articulated active learning strategies at various levels, which will enable the child to remain engaged. And the second most important thing for us is that the child does not remain at the knowledge, understanding, and application level. With every concept that is taught and every unit that is taught, the child moves to the level of creation and analysis.
Right.
So
Cope cycle. You're talking about the Cope cycle, right?
Yes, that makes it very interesting for the child. So if they are learning a poem, they are learning the rhyming scheme, they are learning the poetic devices, they are learning everything. But it doesn't stop there. It makes them experiment and write one themselves. That goes to the creation level, and that is where the interest is sustained. So the child starts thinking from the start itself that this is my aim, this is my goal, and I have to reach there. So what can I do? So when the set objective is clearly articulated in the beginning itself, you will find that the student definitely, shows interest, and no rhetoric, no boring thing being given to the children. That is very, very important, because anything boring, even, I, at my age, if I go to a seminar and if I find that somebody is giving a long lecture,
for no reason at all,
I doze off.
Yeah, I know, ma'am. I know, happens with me many times. But I'm so sorry. I don't know how come my license got expired. I'll have a word with my team. That's why. But there was one very important thing. One of my personal learnings which I can share, so that because it's a platform where we share ideas and exchange ideas, right? Now, when I say this about experiential learning and everything, so educators they say that they might have other sort of negative connotations toward it, but that concept is also coming, and it's a concept of gamification. I can give you a
Yes.
guarantee that games teaches kids a lot of things.
Yes.
And I am an avid gamer. I have been an avid gamer since I was a small child. When I went to hostel and did my law, when I came, I still have an Xbox on my desk. And the thing is, I'll give you a very small example of this. There's a game when I was a child. It was Age of Empires, wherein you had to make a community of little soldiers and everything, and then they'll build a town and everything. They'll take up resources, and then you can push that community to go on a war with neighboring states. So it was very interactive and everything, and then you could position your soldiers. And guess what? When I saw, and it's a negative connotation because why I can say this, because when I read about Roman civilization, they used to attack in a phalanx and everything. So that I could relate. Okay, so this is what goes went on in history, how they attacked and neighboring states, and
Yes.
now moving forward to
Take,
21st
take
century.
even the Chakravyuha.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. To phalanx position is basically to penetrate the Chakravyuh, to penetrate the opposing army.
Hmm.
And the in Japan, when I went to Japan in Tokyo, some riots were happening, and the Japanese police used the same baton and a shield and that same uh, you know uh,
Technique.
yeah, same situation was not, of course they were not attacking, but they were just protecting and dispersing the crowd. But they used the same position, the phalanx position, to control the crowd. So that's how I could relate through a game. So I guess gamification and games are a very good learner or triggers basically. So I am out of time, but I really wanted to discuss that point with both of you. So I can give you a call if you permit me, and then you can teach me something about that and my audience. But all right, to viewers and listeners who are watching us, and listeners on our podcast as well. Uh, Subina ma'am, thank you so much. Lalita ma'am, thank you so much. I hope you had a great
Pleasure.
time.
Pleasure is
I hope
mine.
you enjoyed this conversation. Thank.
Yes,
Have a
yes, yes.
nice day,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Sumina ma'am. And
Thank you.
thank you, Himanshu.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Lalita
ma'am.
ma'am. And it was a good talk session and enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Oh my God.